Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's class of front-end development beginner. Uh, yeah, we actually currently on JavaScript, and last week, 2 weeks ago, we introduced ourselves to, no, last week we introduced ourselves to JavaScript and why JavaScript is needed and how it works. Why is it? Why do we need to use it, and how the effects or the changes it made to a web page. And then we discussed the variables, we discussed the keywords used to declare a variable, we discussed the use of let, the use of var, and then the use of const. And also we discussed data type last week, discussed that we have a number, we have string, we have an array, which we've not got into that yet, we have an object, we have null, we have undefined, we have Boolean. So these are the different data types we have. We have many more of it, which moving forward we get to know it and understand them one after the other. So last week, last Tuesday we yeah we try a hands-on on a simple task or a simple project. We just do with a cart, like a shopping cart, where a user added an item to the cart and then decide or choose to increase the number of items. For example, I want a bag. I want a bag from Jumia. Then I visited Jumia.com. I click on the bag that I want, but then I don't want just one. I want about 4 or 5 of it, right? So we enable the fact that okay, when the user clicks, then the total of the user should increase, or the item in stock should reduce, or the number of times user clicks should reflect on our UI. Initially, everything was just reflecting in our console, which we were able to achieve that using the console.log and the result. But then on Tuesday, we were able to show it to the clients. That means displaying it on the web page itself, using the document.get member ID in HTML and all of those manipulation. Yeah. So, well, we gave a task, a simple task, not like a very important task, but just a simple task for us to see how we can troubleshoot or brainstorm on our side on ourselves to see how we can make the total to reflect when a user add an item or increase the number of items he or she wants to buy. So, and I think two persons said they were able to come up with something interesting. So we like to work with them, or if I believe some of us also will have been able to fix that. So I want us to fix that just within 10 minutes of our time. Just within 10 minutes. First, it's very simple, very, very simple. Let's just do that within 10 minutes and then we can move on to the next thing we have for today. All right. Okay, so first and foremost, let's see how we can load what we have currently. It's app.js total. Okay, I think I may have done something. Okay, let me just see after this. Can we all see my screen? If you can see my screen, please just raise your hand. Let me be sure. And if it is visible enough, just raise your hand. Let me be sure. Okay. All right. Thank you, Judge. All right. So from last week, from last class, we were able to add an on-click function, subtract on a button, and then a add function on a button, right? And then we're able to use both function both function in our app.js that enables user to add an item or increase the number of items they want. And when the item is increased, when the number of items selected or picked is increasing, then the number of stock we have is reducing. You know, when you have 10 items in the stock and then one user wants to buy 2 of it, then definitely the number of items in stock should reduce, right? At the same time, when you reduce, then number of stock should go back to, should keep increasing. Understand? So that's just what it is. But then we're not able to finish it as it is right now. If I'm increasing, normally what we have in stock is 10. But then if I keep reducing like this, then it's the number of stock is increasing also, which is not supposed to be. I'm not supposed to trigger an increment in number of stock because of user selection. So this is what we have currently. So the first thing we want to do now is to reflect a total when a user selects one item. Currently, the price of item is 7,000. Then when the user selects one, then you should have 7,000 here. When it selects two, then you should have 14,000. That means price multiplied by 2 will give us the total. 3 multiplied by 2 will give us the total. And then when it gets to like this, when the number of stock is 10, number of selected is 10, right? The stock is 0. That means we shouldn't be able to add anymore because we don't have anything in stock. In some cases, we may even need to click and then we'll get a prompt and alert that there's no item in stock, right? And then when we have 0 here, then we shouldn't be able to go to -1. So that's probably what we're going to do this morning. So let's see how we can fix the total first. Right now we have in our index, let's locate where we have the total. Where we have this total. Here we have the total here, line 48 as a P element that takes the total, right? We call it count. No, that's not it. Okay, yeah, sorry, line 60, right? A P tag that takes the total, and then we give it a class name of total, and then we pass to 0 because by default the total should definitely be 0. Without adding anything, it should be 0. All right. So the first thing we need to do is to get this element in our app.js. So I would like us to just follow say something. So what should I do first? You feel free to just unmute yourself and then say something. Just what should I do first? I need to get that element from my index.html. So how do I do that? The element I want to get is called, we passed a class to it called total. So I want to get this element. Okay.
Let new total be equal to document.querySelector.
Document.querySelector. Okay. So what do I do?
Total.
The total. Thank you. All right.
Then
so this
we haven't closed it.
Closed.
No, with the semicolon there.
Okay, thank you.
The end of it. Yeah.
All right. So we've been able to get our total element. We've been able to get the element from our index.html. So to confirm that, let's do console.log total. Sorry, new total. Right. But then I like to label, so I'll see what I'm doing. If you label like this, if you wrap it in an object, this bracket is called an object bracket. This bracket like this, they call it parentheses, right? Sorry, curly braces. So if you wrap your variable that you want to console in a parenthesis, sorry, in a curly braces or curly bracket or whatever, you get this new total as a label. In your console, you're going to see new total, and then it's going to tell you that, okay, I think this is the new total. Let me show you something. If we have something like this, console.log, two ways to new total, and then you cannot call new total like this. You can either label like this, right, or label like this, line 12 or line 14. That's 2 ways of labeling. Why do we need to label? It's because, okay, when in some cases we have a lot of things in the console. When you're working with a very large code base, then you have a lot of console.log inside your code. So the best way for you to know that, okay, this is my own console, this is my own variable that I log to the console, is to label your whatever your console. So when you label it, you can just go to the console and then just look for a new total. Then you get, okay, this is what I'm currently looking for. Or at the same time, you can use this one also to get a new total string. But then I'll show us how the difference between the two. Before then, let's just load this in the open server. Okay, so no, not this. Okay. All right. So we have console. Okay, so now the first one that I did, which is an object, this is it. So now I'm getting console. You have a lot of print to console, print to console. All you have to do is just to open the object because I told you, I said I wrapped it inside an object bracket. That's why it is inside an object, it's showing like an object, right? So when you click on the object, you get to see the new total. Okay, this is the new total. If I did not wrap it inside an object, if I just console it directly like this, fine, I'll get it, but then I won't know that is the new total that I was working with. See, now I have span the total. In some cases, this thing could be 5, could be 6, right? So how do you know that okay, this is the console I use? This is the new total that I'm actually controlling. This is the new total that I'm logging to the console, right? The only way or the best way to do it is to wrap it inside an object bracket, which is the wrap it inside a curly braces, right? Let's forget about this for now. Let's focus on this. Now, after wrapping it, then you go back to your console, then you see new total like this. You can either see it from like the way you see it initially, like an object, or you can see it like this. All you have to do is just to open it. And then it's okay, this is the new total. HTML, the text content, the on click, the on wait, and all of that. So let's remove this for now. So I want to log this to the console. And then I used this string so that I will also know that this is the new total. Because remember, when I do this only, I won't know that this is the new total. So I use this so that I will know that, okay, this is the new total. So now we have a new total and then we have the span. So we're getting our element correctly. This is the element, the span correctly. Now, what do we do next after getting the element correctly? We want user to be able to add an item, and then the total is going to change, right? Price is currently 7,000. That has been defined there. Price is 7,000. And then when user clicks on this add button, we want the total, that's the total, overall total to increase. So what do we do next? What do we do? What do we do? Can someone just unmute themselves
Okay,
and say
sir.
something?
Okay. We are going to call the total. That's
Call.
Yes. You can give it a class.
Okay,
And then, okay, you have already called it now, new total, B.
Yeah, we've called total already.
Okay, so on the function there, on that add, we're going.
Okay. Are you there? Okay, someone else, I think he is out. Anybody else?
Okay. So here's what we do. We do price plus equal to 7,000.
Plus equal to, you mean like
7,000.
this? Okay.
Yeah. Put the apostrophe, I don't forget what they call it. The command, forget because it's okay. Yeah. So then we do new total dot text content
New total dot text content. Okay.
is equals to price.
It's equal to price. Okay. Is that all?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let's go and try it now. Okay. Okay. I only have one, but then I'm getting 14,000 already. I think there is a mistake. Don't you see? I have
We,
just two. I'm getting 21,000. You want to look at the code again?
No, boss, go to 0 first. Let's see. Just put it in 0. Yes.
Okay. Okay, it's not reducing. Okay. Let me refresh. Let me just refresh. So we start from the beginning. Okay, at 0 is 0. Then when I click, I get 14. There's something. Just look at the code again. There's something we are missing here. There's something. I actually won't use this approach, right? I won't use this approach. For me, I
Yes,
won't.
sir.
But
Yes, sir.
then there is something still missing. Okay, here's the thing. We already declared price at 7,000. That's the thing. We have to declare the price, right? And then here we are now saying price plus or equal to 7,000, meaning that this, price is already 7,000. Okay, Abiri or Jasmine, someone is trying to.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
like we are adding an additional 7,000 to it for every click.
Exactly, which initially we already have 7,000 as price. That would definitely give us 14,000. So how do you think we can do it so that when we click first, like initially we have 0, right? Or yeah, 0, and then when you click, you get 7,000 first instead of going to 14,000.
okay, sir, let's do it like this. I don't know. Let's create another variable and make the variable equals to 0. Let's
Let's new
The,
var.
that
let
method is
let
kind
us
of
have the
long.
price.
Okay, let's finish with this first. So okay, continue. Let new var equals to what?
0.
0.
Then yeah, then we cancel. Just have to cancel that price plus equal to 700 in the function, the add function.
Okay. Okay.
So we do new var plus equal to price.
Okay. That's too much for difference. Yeah, it's okay. At least if you can find a way to
Then
achieve what you need to achieve. This will be new
new
bar, right?
var, yeah, you need new var, yes.
This should work fine. Let's see. 7,000. Okay, this is working fine. So that one is that. Yeah, well, your route is kind of long, but then it's working fine. One thing is, however you can achieve your goal, just try and achieve it, and then moving forward, you can now look at it and say, okay, I think I can make this better. I can make this better. So that is that. And then someone else. This is one way. Does anyone have any
Sir,
other idea? Okay.
so you can remove the new var plus price.
Okay. Okay.
So we have total, new total. I saw something up there.
New total. Okay.
Yes, new total dot in a HTML.
Dot inner HTML. Okay.
It's now be equals to the. Can I see the page again?
The page. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So it will be equals to the class of this price and the stock. So
Okay.
let's so what's the class of the price and the class of the stock? So you can
I don't know. You
divide.
tell me.
Okay,
You tell
this
me.
is
Everything is
okay.
on the screen.
Okay. So the price, the fixed price, 7,000. Yeah. So
Yeah.
price
Right.
times the
That's it.
yes.
You guys forgot that default count is this. This is our count, right? And this is represented as default count. Okay, so for every time user clicks, right? For every time user clicks, like okay, they add, we multiply this by the price, which means when we have per item multiplied by 7 give us 21,000. When we have 4 multiplied by this will give us whichever. So this is just it, and then I think it should work fine. Sure, fine. So what happened here is just basically new total after getting the elements, new total, and then the inner HTML. What we want inside our inner HTML, our new total should be our price, which is a constant price. This should even be a const because price is a constant price. Price will now be equals to price multiplied by default count. So now let's save that and see what we have. Does anyone have any other way to achieve that? A better way, something better?
And then, sir, you can then carry it and put under the subtract.
Okay, you mean like this?
Yes, you can just carry it and paste it under the subtract.
Yeah, so what do we
Yes.
do now? Okay, just the same
That's
way, right?
all.
Okay. First time. Now let's see. When we add, we get multiply by 1, by the number of counts, and then we reduce it. Okay, fine, that's interesting. So do you have any questions? Does anyone have any questions? This is what happened. We have our function to add, and then the first thing we did was we have a default count, which we initialized to 0, right? Default count should be 0. That means when a user clicks on this item, the first thing they have there is 0. Okay, and then we get our in stock also as 10. That's the number of items we have in stock. And then we have our price, which is 7. And then, although this is not really necessary, but then from the initial solution someone provided, we were able to use the Nova, which I feel is just a long way. I like that also, right? I like it also. So we can, if you want to go using that approach, it's very fine. So, and then we say default count. For every time you use that clicks, default count you want to add 1, default count plus plus. You know, this one we can say default count plus or equal to 1. But why do we have to go this length when we can just say default count plus plus? Okay, so that's why we say default count plus plus. The count, which is this place, which is our element we have here, count, already we call the count document.query the class. We use the class selector, right? Then we save it inside the count variable. We're now saying count.innerHTML. Whatever that will be inside our account should now be the default count. Remember, default count is increasing. And JavaScript will always pick the value after line 18. JavaScript will always pick the value of default count after line 18. It will not go up here and pick this is 0. It will only pick the value after this one. So then it's going to be picking the new value of default count. As far as it is increasing, it's going to keep picking it. So at the same time, we don't just want to stop there. We want to reduce the number of items we have in stock. Right. So yeah, we have 10 items in stock. We now say in stock also should reduce by 1 for every time user clicks. And then stock.innerHTML, the same way that we selected an element from our HTML to get our stock element. So stock.innerHTML will now be equals to this in stock, the new value of stock, the updated value of in stock every time user clicks. So at the same time, after doing that, we also call this the element you have here, document.query selector or total. So we assign it into a new total, and they will say new total.innerHTML. The value that will be inside our new total, the HTML, the inner HTML of our new total now will now be equals to the price, which is a constant price, constant value, 7,000, multiplied by the default count. Every time the default count changes, we multiply it by price. That will give us a new total. All right, so the same thing is done here. This is just like the opposite of what was done here. So default count minus minus and the in stock plus plus. All right. Now let's see how we can let's see how we can stop this. That's a little bit far for me though. It's a little bit far for us. I know David has done it already, but then I feel we should just take it. I don't want to go to that length here. So let's just pick it. Let's just focus on what we have currently. Okay. Is this your name? I don't know how to pronounce it. Sorry. Please Unmute yourself if you have any questions.
Good morning.
Morning.
I didn't really understand that we talk minus
I can't hear you clearly. You can't.
Can you hear me now?
Okay. Good morning.
I said in the function, the add function and the subtract function, the insert that has statement and insert that has structure. Can you explain it?
You were not in the last class, were you?
No, I was not.
You have to watch the video to get that clearly in place. You have to, although what the function does, you have to watch the video. So I will just brief it. I won't go deep into it. I'm coming this time. So, but then feel free to go back to go to YouTube and see the video on that. So basically what the function does is, function is like a block of code. It's more like the way we have const length. Function is a keyword that you use to define a particular block of code. Right. Okay, I want this function to perform this function. I want this part to do this duty for me. I want it to add anytime I click, and I want it to subtract anytime I click. So that's what the function does. You define a duty for it. Okay, this is what I want you to do, right? So that's what function does. And then this function now is an on-click function. That this function is add function that is called in an on-click event here. So
Yeah,
this on-click, okay, you get that part. Okay.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, so what part exactly?
Yeah, that's like that there is an insert that is minus inside the add function. After the
Okay.
counter, and the insert that is minus.
Okay. Okay. All right. So here's the thing. You've not been joining our class. You've not been joining the class. So, all right. Well, there's something they call increments and decrements in JavaScript. Increment means when you declare a value, a variable like this, you say increment, for example, equals to 2, right? So when you want to increase the value of 2, you say increment plus plus. So this means increase the value of increment by 1. Plus plus means always increase the value of 2, or always increase the value of increment by 1. If I should do it again, this means if I console.log again now, I'll get what? The value of increment will be what? 3. Because with the help of the plus plus, I've been able to increase it by 1. Right? Yeah, with the help of the plus plus, I've been able to increase it by 1. So I actually add it again. Yeah, I'll now get what? 4. Because yeah, it is now 3. Increment is 3 here on line 20. And then line 21, it increases by another 1. Remember, plus plus means always increase by 1. Always increase by 1. So meaning that when I plus plus here, I get 2 plus 1. So when I plus plus here, I get the value of increment here, which is 3 plus 1. That means 4 here. Now the value of increment here is 4. So line 23 now I get the 4, the latest value of increment is now 4, right? Plus 1. So that's just what increment does. Plus plus will always increase by 1, always increase by 1.
This is not the time for this one. Not time for this. There's no be
Okay, sorry about that. So increment will just increase by 1. The same thing, the same way increment does, that's how decrement also. So it just reduces by 1, reduces by 1. When you want to reduce something by 1, every time a user clicks, okay, when I click on something, I want to reduce the value that I have here by 1. So you can say, let's say we have decrement, for example. You understand now, right?
Yeah, I understand very well how the increment and the decrement work.
Okay. Okay.
My confusion here is that inside the function now that we have the function of add, like when the user clicks on the add, the item, yeah. So the work of the default counter is like to add it up. Then they count the inner HTML like to display it in the UI now for the person to see. Then that install is it also part? I mean, what's the work inside the function like the install itself?
Okay, here's the thing. I'm finding it really difficult to hear you. Like I'm really finding it difficult. But
Sibuso,
if not, yeah, okay, can you tell me what he's trying to say?
he's saying this in stock decrement that we have in the function add, how did it come
Yeah.
about? Like, what is it doing there?
The in stock, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Here's the thing. We have an in stock of 10. You can see on line 13, it was declared already that okay, the number of items we have in our stock is 10. So we just
Okay.
assign the number of items we have
Now.
to a variable called in stock.
Oh, yes. Okay,
Do you
thanks for
understand? Is that
that.
all?
Yes, it does.
All right. All right. Any question? Any further question? Any further question? All right, none. Okay, so let's pick something today apart from what we've been doing before. Let me just allow that. So let's talk about arrays. Talk about arrays, right? So let's see from our free KodeCamp we're using. This array has already been discussed in our last not last class, but it was the class we had which we talked about array. Okay, so this is it. All right. I said, what is with JavaScript array variables, we can store several pieces of data in one declaration with an opening square bracket and it's with the between each entry like this. So basically what an array does is it's actually, when we are storing, we can store something inside, we can store a single string inside a variable like this. We can say single s equals to string, just like this. Okay, so we cannot say this and then store another thing like this. We cannot do this because this is not allowed. If you want to store multiple value inside a single variable, we want to store multiple value. For example, we have the list of students in front-end development, right? So we want to get all of them inside a single value called list of students. We can say const, or let's say let's front-end students be equals to, now we want to get all of the students at once stored inside this front-end student, so that when I need to use all of the students, like when I need to use all of this value or all of this data in a single place, I don't have to start calling JSON, or I don't have to say let's student1 std1 be equals to gospel, right? Then because I have about 50 students, for example, let students2 be equals to, this will mean me having to write a bunch of code, like a lot of declaration and all of that. So this is really not the best. If you do it like that, well, if you have the time, it's going to work. But then you can't go on doing stuff like this. It does not really make any sense. And then when you need to use it in some cases, you won't be able to use with however you want to use it, right? So the best way to do that, to store multiple value inside a single variable, is by using the array, right? They call it an array. So array is just multiple variables. So how do you declare an array? It's using the array brackets, this opening bracket and closing bracket. That's the declaration first. That means front-end students is what? Is an array. Even without anything inside it, the fact that it is assigned to this bracket is assigned to front-end student, then this is seen as an array. So if I should say console.log type of, we use type of is a method used in getting or knowing the data type of a particular variable. I want to know what kind of data type is this, what's the type of this data, right? I don't know if it's an object, if it's an array with a string or a number. So how do I even know it? Use the console.log, the type of, to know that. So type of front end student. Now, if we check this in the console, line 39. Let's see that. Okay, it is an object, fine. Well, type of will always see array as an object. Type of will always see array as an object. They don't really see it as an array, right? But then, literally, it is an object. Sorry, it is an array, as you can see it like this. So, a bracket, an array bracket is used to store multiple variables, so that you can call it. You can call the first student, and you can call the last student, and you can use the middle one anytime you want to use it. You can pick one out of it. You can add to it. You can remove from it. You can add to the end. For example, let's say I have 20 students first, right? I have 20 students first in my class, and then I have more 2 students that I want to add to the list of these people. Right? I just have to do something, and then I'll add 2 more of these items to the end, or add 2 more of these students to the front of the array. So whichever position I want to add them, I can use my array function or my array method to add all of these items. So now let's assume we have we want to say front end student, right? So we have array. Yeah, array. That's the first person. We have Jacqueline, right? We have Stanislav. I hope this spelling is correct. We have looking for, we have OJ, we have Rose, right? For example, let's just go with this for
My
now.
array is missing an arrow.
Is missing an arrow?
RH.
Okay.
RH.
Wait, let me see it myself.
Mm.
Okay, sorry. All right, yeah, ABIRHIRE, fine. All right, Jasmine, I think Jasmine has the E. All right, yeah. Sorry about that. Then Stanislaus
has an A, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Okay. So we have 4 students for now. These are the only students that I know in front-end development for now. So we have Abiri, Jasmine, Stanislaus, and Rose. So now I want to console.log front end, right? I can get all of this together at once when I console.log the front end student. That means I'll get all of this as an array or an So let's see the console now. This is it. I have Abiri, Jasmine, Stanislaus, and Rose. Now it's saying from what we did last week, we talked about length, right? I don't know if we talked about that last week. We talked about length for us to get, let's say, okay, this number now, I don't know it is 4. I don't know it is 4. So I want to get the length of the number of students we have in front-end development. You may be given a task that, okay, you have this data. Okay, how do I know the number of people in this class, right? So the only thing you have to do is just to say, okay, front-end dot length. We already did that last week, if you remember. So this will now give us the length of students in front-end, which is 4, right? As easy as that. So that's how array works also. You can use dot length on string to get the length of the letter, right, of that string. And then you can use dot length on an array to get the number of variables or values you have inside the array. Okay, so at the same time, as you can see, first, let me show us something from the console. Each of this value has a key, an index. Each of this value has an index, which is called a key, right? Let's take that now. All right, you can see we have Abiri as an index of 0, Jasmine as an index of 1, Stanislaus 2, and then Rose as an index of 3. So for every array, there's an index. And an array index is always starting from 0, which means when you want to get the last value of an array, you have to say -1. Remember, we want to get the first one, we say 0. That's the first item inside an array, because every array index starts from 0. Now, if we want to get the last one, we say -1 at the end. That's the only way to get the last one, because it's always going to be -1 to get the last one. All right, now let's assume that I want to get only Jasmine. I want to get only Jasmine. We use the bracket notation to get we use the bracket notation to get an item inside an array. To get an item inside an array, bracket notation meaning you can say front end, and then you pass this bracket, meaning okay, any number that you have here, JavaScript is going to look for the item in that number and then print it out for us. So that's it. Now let's say I want to get Jasmine now. I will just pass this bracket notation and then I'll call, Abi race is 0 and then Jasmine is 1, right? If you can see from it, Jasmine has an index of 1. So if I should do this 1, then console and then save it, I'll get Jasmine. So I was able to get Jasmine. And at the same time, I can add comma and then still get the next person, right? Just put this and then get the next person, get 2. This will give us Stanislaus. This will give us both Jasmine and Stanislaus. So, but then in some cases, I want to get the last person. But then I don't know the length of these people in this class. I don't really know, right? I can't say, okay, right now I know it's 4. So I can easily pass 4 here to get rows. Do you understand? I can easily pass 3 because we have 0, 1, 2, 3. Remember, index starts from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3. So I can easily pass 3 to get rows. This is the Jasmine and rows. But in the case where I don't even know the length of this array, I don't know the number of items we have inside the array, how do I get the last item of the array? So to do that, you can say front-end development. Now we need to get the length first. How do we get the length? For us to get the length, we have to say front-end. Let's not get confused. Here is where we are supposed to pass a number. That number is the number that we're going to look for, or JavaScript will look for inside our array. JavaScript will look for that number as an index. We look for the index of that number inside our array and then give us the value of that index, right? But then in this case, we want to get the last item and we don't know the index of that last item. So the only way we can achieve or get the last index or the index of that last item is to first of all get the length of the item. Remember, the last with the length. Right.
Yeah, sorry. In case you have any question, I think his network is off. That's why you can hear him. So please, if let's just bear with him for a little while. In case you have any question, you can just ask. Pending the time, Simple Soul comes back. Yeah, Simple Soul is back. Thank you, God. Can you transfer the host to Simple Soul? Thank God. Can you hear me? Thank God. Obioma. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir.
Yeah, transfer the host to Simple Soul so you can be able to share his screen.
That should transfer what?
Host. You are the host.
Oh, I don't know how to do.
If you kind of place your mouse over your name, have you seen that?
I'm using phone,
Simple
sir.
Soul can share. Oh, you're using your phone, and it's still the same thing. Oh, I don't know how to do it on phone. Okay, simple. So just go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'm very sorry. I never knew my network was even gone already. I've said a lot. Okay, so I need to know where do we start? Where do we stop exactly? Where do I? Let me see if this record is still going. Okay, Femi, please. I'll need you to record for me. I don't know. The recording stopped when the recording stopped because I lost the host. So if you can do that, Femi, please, can you hear me? Can anyone hear me?
Boss, we can hear you. Can I ask you a question, boss?
Yeah, he has made
Okay,
you
you
a post
can.
already, so you can record.
Okay. On my console, you know yours when you put in, like if you go to your console, when you
Yeah.
like when you did the arrays, and then you
Yes.
console.log it and it showed you the names. Mine doesn't show names like that. I don't know why. Like it's just showing you that rows there. I think it's almost the same. Is it which one are you using? Are you using is it Firefox or is it Chrome? Because mine doesn't show, it just shows the number. It just showed
Are
okay,
you saying it's
4.
not showing this?
No, it's not. No, I can't see that.
Are you sure is this you're writing it correctly? Consider a lot of front-end student.
Yeah, but if I didn't write it correctly, it will show me 4. So that one is there.
The 4
Showing me
is
4.
dot length. That means the length
Yes,
of
dot length.
okay.
Yeah, it showed me
Okay,
4
you're
dot
trying to
length. Yes.
see you're trying to see the whole array entirely in your console, right?
Yes, I can see it. Yes.
Did you do consider a lot of front-end student?
Yes. Console.log front end student dot length. Okay, I have to do
Dot length
console.log
will give you the length.
4. Okay, I should just do console.log front end student. Okay, let me try that and see.
Yeah. Okay, so you're back. Okay, I think I'm recording now. All right. Now, what we were trying to say, I've said a lot actually, I never knew. We want to get the last item inside this our array. We want to get the last item inside our array. Okay, so how do we do that to get the last item? There are a couple of ways in which you can get the last item inside an array. But the one we're going to start with is to use the index, right? To use the index to get the item. Currently, we're using index to get items. We say, let's get first. To get the first item, we'll say front end, then we'll call the bracket notation. We use the bracket notation, then we'll pass the zero. Zero is always the first item in the array, right? So if you console.log the get first now, get first, you get what array. Now from your console, you get array, right? So now we want to get the last one, which we don't even know the length. We assume that we don't know the length of this our front end. Okay. So like I said, we want to get it using the index. And for us to get it using the index, that means we have to know where this one is. We have to know the index of this rows. And the only way to know the index of the rows is to first of all get the length of this entire array. If we get the entire, let's get the length now. Let's say let's get length. Let's get length be equals to front end dot length. This should give us get length should now be equals to 4 currently. Get length will be equals to 4 because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 here. But then we need to use this get length. We need to use this length to get the index. And remember, the index here will always be +1 because we're starting from 0. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Sorry, 0, 1, 2, 3. That's it. That means this is supposed to be 3, but then because the length is giving us 4, we have to minus the length by 1. Always length will always give you 1, 2, 3. Length will start from 1. while index will start from 0. Let's not get confused. A 0 length will start from 1, count from 1, while index will count from 0. So for us to get the index of the last item using the length, we have to say whatever it is to length minus 1. That minus 1 will now give us the last index of the array. So now this is what we're going to do. I want to get the last item, so I would say get last equals to front end. Now, how do I get the length of front end students? I'll use this to get the length. I can either just call it somewhere. I can even say like this, copy this, paste it here, right? And then put your get length here. This get length will give us what here? 4. That means inside our bracket notation now we have 4, which is not going to give us anything. Currently, we don't have 4 as an index. We don't have any item that has an index of 4 because this is 0, 1, 2, and 3. So if I console.log get last now, I will get an undefined because I don't have anything at index 4. Let's see that. I'm getting an undefined. So for me to get the last one, I have to minus this by 1. Now let's save it, and let's see what we have now. We get roast. So as easy as that. Although you don't have to declare this first, just copy everything that you have here and then paste it there to make it faster, and then minus 1 from the result. So this is the same thing. Any question, please? Any question? So this is going to give us the last item inside the array. Remember, to get the length of an item, you have to use front end student or whatever it is the variable. So length will give us the length, okay? And then we need to get the index of the last item inside an array. So we have to get the length of that array, then subtract it by 1 to give us the index of the last item of the array. So, and then the only way you can get the last, using the index is to pass the index. Whatever index you want to get, pass it inside the bracket, just directly in front or immediately in front of the array variable. So that is it. Now we're able to get rows. If we want to get the first one, just change it to 0. Then we get the first one. Array. So now let's see what we have next inside our basic JavaScript function. Okay, that's that about array. Modify array. Okay. All right. Now let's try to push something inside this array. I currently have 4 items inside my array. I want to be able to add an additional item into it. Okay, I think I have new students now. So you can say for every time a new student is added, for every time, okay, let's say in a school you have just 2,000 students, and then all of those students are being assigned, are being stored inside an array. Every of these students are being stored inside an array. So you want to write a function to check that for every time there's a new student, I want to add that student to the array that I was using before. All right, so the way you can add that is to use the push method. There are 4 different ways in which you can add and remove from an array, basically, right? So we have the push, we have the pop, we have the on shift, and then we have the shift method. So this method, these 4 methods are used to manipulate or to just change the look of your array, to add to it, to remove from it, add to the front and remove from the front. So the first one is the push. We use array.push to add an item to the end of our array. Array.push is used to add an item to the end of our array. We have push, we have pop, we have on shift, and then we have shift. Okay, so we want to start with the push. For now, I have Abir, I have Jasmine, I have Stanislaus, and then I have Rose. But then I want to add David to the list of the students I have in front-end development. How do I do that? Right? I can say front-end students dot push. Okay, this array, you call the array const, let's just say, or you can just say front-end student. This is the array, okay? So what do you want this array to do? You want this array to push a new item to itself. We want this array to add a new item to itself. There are a couple of ways in which you can do this. But for now, we are going to focus on the push, the pop, the on shift, and the shift. So we can say dot push. Okay, front-end development. I want you to push. What are you pushing? I want you to push David to the list of the array that you have initially. Initially, you only have Abire, Jasmine, Stanislaus, and Rose. Now, when you get to line 45, I want you to push David, a new string. Remember, it is a string, it is not a number. So I want you to push a new string, which is called what, David, to the list of yourself. What is the list of yourself? The list of front-end development is this. So if I should say console.log front-end development here now, let me remove this. I should say consider a lot of front-end development here now. I get what? The list like this plus David. See what I'll get. Now I have David added to the end of the array. David has been added to the end of the array. At the same time, I can still say again, I can still copy this, right? And then paste it here, and then copy this and paste it here, and then change this to gospel, for example, then save it again. Here, I'm going to get 5 items, while here, I will get 6 items. So as you can see here, line 47, since this is where I added David, I get 5 items in the array. And then when it gets to line 51, which, David has already been added. Now in this line 49, we want to add another one, which is gospel. So we get 6 items in the array. So that is how you can use dot push to add items to the array. At the same time, we can use pop. That's the next thing we can use. Although, if I want to add multiple items at the same time, I want to push David, I want to push Gospel, I want to push George, I want to push Ayo, I want to push everybody. So I can say, instead of doing this and wasting my time, I can just push everybody at the same time. Just add comma, just say Ayo, then say Sammy. Okay. And the next person, George, just like this. This George is not correct. Okay, so I want to add 4 more items. I want to push 4 more items to my front-end development, front-end student. So if I should save this now and then console.log front-end student, I will get all of this list and then get all of this list. So now this is what we have. As you can see, I have Albert, Jasmine, Stanislaus, Rose, David, Ayo, Sammy, and George. Any question? Any question? There shouldn't be any question now. Okay.
Nope.
Anyone want to ask question?
No questions.
Okay, none. All right, thank you very much. Now that is how to use dot push, right? Not only that you can push all of this, you can still push a number, you can push an array, you can push a number. I can decide I want to push an additional number, I want to push 100. I can decide I want to push an array also, I want to push 12, another string, joy, right? So you can push anything into your array. You can push anything into your array. If I check this in the console now, I'll get everything, both the number and then the array. This is the array. Number 9 is an array, and then the number 8 is the 100 I added. So now I want to remove now. Push is used to add, while pop is used to remove. Let me write that. Push push is used to add to the end of an array, while pop is used to add, to remove.
Sorry, simple so.
From...
Sorry, simple so.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, on a lighter note, chicken in our class.
Yeah, I tried to. I just it was someone. Ayo was unmuted initially. I just muted him now. All right, we're good now. So we use pop to remove an item from the end of an array. Remove an item from the end of an array. Remove remove from the end of an array. But that doesn't take any parameter. So let's say we want to remove from the end now. We just say FrontEnd dot pop. FrontEnd dot pop will remove the last item. Currently, the last item we have is what? 12 and joy. Remember, this is an array. So this is one item. This is another item. This is another one. This is another one. So I want to remove the last item I have inside of my array. This is it, the last item. So if I should check now, I'm not going to see that anymore. So currently I have the last thing as a 0. But then you can still at the same time see the item you popped out. Okay, what I need exactly is the item I popped out. All you have to do is to store this FrontEnd.pop, store it into a variable, say let's remove the equals to this, and then you can now say console.log removed. Right? That means I need the item that I removed from my array. So console.log they removed now, we get 12 and joy. Any question? Please, if we are confused at any point, feel free to just drop me back. Okay. So the first thing I said was we have an array, all right, and then we have an array of strings. We have array, Jasmine, Stanislaus, and Rose. Not just strings. You can have all kind of data type inside an array. You can have an object. You can have a number. You can say, okay, let's say 100, like the one I gave initially, and then you can have another array inside an array. They call it a nested array. You can have array inside. You can have anything, right, inside an array. You can have variables inside an array. The only thing you cannot have a non-declared variable. I cannot just say var variable like this. This is going to throw an error because var is what is not defined. Remember, var is a text, so it has an array. And how do I even get there? If I want to, let's say I have something like this. Let's say I have let r in array is equal to, okay, let's use number now, 1, 2, 3. That's the first array. Then this is array inside an array. That's nested array. So I say 3, 4, 5, right? Then I have another one. I say 7, 3, 5. Remember, these things are always separated by the comma. They are always separated by comma. The first variable is separated by comma, second one, comma, third one, comma, rows, comma, the object, comma, 100, and then all of that. Ensure that you always have your comma. So the same thing applicable inside this nested array. We have the parent array, that's color yellow, as you can see. We have the nested array color yellow, right? Sorry, the parent array color yellow, and then the one inside, the nested array inside our array is taking array bracket of color purple, right? Which we have 1, 2, and 3 inside it. So this is an array inside another array. Array 1, array 2, array 3 inside their parent array. So if I want to access the last array now, I will just say console.log array in array. Okay, r in array. Then I'll say what? R in array dot length -1. So this will give me this array. So let me just console.log that we're going to get. Okay, I've consoled it already. Sorry. Okay, now let's see what we have now. Okay, so this is it. I have 3, 7, 3, and 5. So how do I get into the next one? For example, I'm currently inside my array. This is it. I don't know. This thing has rearranged this thing automatically, but it's fine. Okay, so we have array in array dot length -1, right? This will give us the last item inside my array. But then at the same time, what I'm looking for exactly is number 3 inside the last array. That's what I'm looking for. And we already know that, okay, number 3 is the index of 1, 0, 1. This is index of 1 of the nested array. So for me to get into number 3, for me to have access to 3, I have to first of all pick the last array. I have to pick this last array, which is this array dot length -1, and then Now, what's the index of the one you're looking for is what? 1. So now let's save it. And then we're going to get number 3. I don't want us to get confused at all. Let me remove all of this first. And then let's pick it again one by one, so we don't get lost, because I see most of us have been so silent. All right, array. How does array work? Array is declared using using the bracket notation, using the bracket. So we say let's my array, let me use something simple, be equals to this. This is array declaration. That's the first thing you need to do. Okay, I need an array. This is the bracket you use to declare an array. Right now, what do you want to put inside the array? I want to post list of students, and then list of okay, I want to post first. I want to put okay, I want to put, let's say, back end. Okay, that's number 1. Front end. Okay, so I'm putting these two, and at the same time, I want to have another array for front-end development students. Okay, so I'll say I have array inside my array. This is an array inside my array. So I can now say David, right? And I can say Jasmine, just like this. Right? At the same time, I can say I want the number of students. I can say let's just say 40 or 60, right? So this is it. You can have anything inside the array. It's just basically where you store different variables. Just store a lot of value inside the array. So how do you access each of this array? That's number 1 question. How do I access each of this array? I want to use front end. How do I access it? You say let's get item be equals to my array. Then you use the bracket notation. This is the bracket notation, right? Use index to access item. So now we say we have 0, 1, 2, and 3. Remember, all of this is 1. All of this like this is just one item. This is another item. This is an item. All of this is an item, and this is an item. So I want to get front end only. So I'll count 0 and 1. So I get 1. So with this now, I'll be able to get my front end. If I say console.log get item now, I will get front end only. So I have front end only here. As you can see, front end there. Now I want to get this one. I don't want front end anymore. I want to get this particular item. So this item is in what? Is in index number 2. So I'll say 2, right? This will give me David and Jasmine. Remember, David and Jasmine is inside an array also.
I think his network went off again. So please just hold on a bit. His network. In case you do have questions, you can always ask.
Very sorry, my network has been really bad, like really, really bad today. Can anybody hear me, please? Please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I'm
Yeah,
very,
Yeah,
very
we
we
sorry.
can hear you.
The network has been really poor. Okay, so no. All right, let's just. I've said a lot of things. I never knew the network is out already. So let me just use this. Remove this. Okay. So I was saying that we want to be able to push, right? Let's push. We have push, and then we have pop to remove from the end. We have on shift to add to the front, and then we have shift to remove from the front. So I say my array dot push. This will add an item to the end. I would say, let me say I want to add Paul and then 45. Okay, so that's it. If I should console.log here, console.log my array, I will get the addition of Paul and 45 to the array. So let's see that. I have backend, frontend, 60, Paul and 45. That's that. Then also we have my array dot pop. This pop will remove the last thing inside the array. Remove the last thing inside the array. If I should console.log, now I want to get the remainder, I will just console.log my array, which is the remainder. If I want to get what I popped out, all I have to do is to assign this into a variable. Let's popped out be equals to this. Remember this pop is actually the method that remove an item from the end of an array. So when I assign it to a variable, I get that value that I remove from the end as popped out. And I can say console.log popped out to give me the last item. So right now I want to get the last item that was removed, and then I want to get the remainder inside my array, 46 and 47. All right, 45 was remember this was the initial one when we pushed. Now we remove 45, and then the left was we have back end, front end, 60 and call as the left item inside the array. So the same process that we use pop and push, we can use the shift and unshift. So we can say my array dot unshift. Unshift is used to add to the front of the array. I want to add joy, right? And then I want to add simple, for example. So this is going to add item to the beginning of the array. Console.log my array. Okay, now let's save it and then let's see what we have. Okay, so currently line 60, like C, now we have joy simple. Remember, initially we have backend at the beginning. This is index 0, But then as soon as we use my array.onShift, joy and simple, which this joy and simple is being pushed, it's been added to the beginning of the array where we have joy and simple. So if you want to remove from the beginning also, you use your my array dot shift. Shift is used to remove from the beginning of an array. That will not take any parameter also. So we can now say console.log my array to get the remainder, and at the same time you can say assign this to a variable. Let's shifted be equals to, then you can now say console.log shifted. Okay, so this shifted will give us the one that we removed from the front of the array, and then this array will give us the remainder. So now this is what we have. So we remove joy, which was added initially. We removed it, and then this line 55 is giving us the remainder of the array. So that's just basically how array works. We add to it. First thing, we assign a lot of variables, a lot of value, multiple value inside an array. And then we use pop, push on shift, and then shift to add and to remove from the array. So do we have any question concerning that? We've explained that a couple of times, so I don't expect anyone to have any issue. Can you see my screen now? My screen has been sharing for a while, so. All right, so let's see the next thing we have. Okay, so all right, let's talk about function. I want us to talk about function as the last thing, and then we can now decide. We can now have an assignment on what we can work on throughout the weekend. So let's remove all of this. We already know what function are used for. We already know what function are used for. So we are declaring function. Function, let's say add number, add two numbers equals to, oh sorry, add two numbers, and then this is a function. We've already know this. So we are declaring a function to perform a given task. This function is going to perform a task of adding two numbers, right? So, and then we already know that, okay, we have assignment operator, and then we have the addition operator. We have different type of operator that we can use to add two numbers. One of them is the plus. We use plus operator to add two numbers. Okay, so we want to say let sum be now equals to the first number that you want to add 50, and then the second number you want to add 60. Okay. So this is a function that is adding two numbers. So we want to store the number that we want to add. See, 50 and 60 is the number we are looking for to add. So we store this value inside a sum. So when it is being added, we get it as the value of sum. So, but then when you are not working with console, when you're not working with console or you're not working with on-click events, right? You have to use a return statement in your function. You have to add a return statement in your function. This return statement is going to be what your function is going to return to you when you want to console.log it. Let me explain that. For a function, for every function, we need a return statement. Okay, you create a function now. You say, okay, this function, I want you to add 17 numbers together. So after adding this number, what exactly are you returning? So that return statement is used to return what do you want this function to return. That's where the return comes in. Now, currently we have a function to add two numbers. Okay, so we say, okay, let sum be equals to 50 plus 60. Right now, we never tell this, we have not even informed the function that, okay, this is what I want you to return. Only function to do this. Okay, do this, add two numbers. But then what exactly am I returning? The function does not know yet once we add the return statement. So now this return will now tell the function that, okay, after after you're done adding whatever it is that I want to add, now return this sum. Now I want you to return sum. So this sum that was added, the sum is the variable that we assign or we stored the sum of 50 and 60. So the sum of 50 and 60 is stored inside the sum variable. And then we are telling the function to now return the value of the sum. So now if we say console.log, we want to call this function now add two numbers. Remember when we were calling our add and plus in our index, we are using this add. So we call it like this, add, then the parentheses. So in this case also, if you want to call this function, you say add two numbers and then the parentheses. So this is going to perform itself automatically. But in this case, I want to see the return inside my console. I want to see the return, which is the sum of this thing inside my console. That's why I added it. I had to put console.log add two numbers inside the console. Let's not make it confusing. Let's say let's sum of num or let's result be equals to add two numbers. Remember, this is our function, right? And then we are calling it. The only way you call a function is to call the name of the function and then add your parentheses to it. So this is calling the function. And remember, what is this function returning? This function is returning sum. So, and then that sum is what we are assigning to our result. So if I say console.log results now, console.log result will now take the sum. Remember, we are returning the sum of 50 and 60 inside our function. and then we are calling it now. We are saying add two numbers. Now, this is calling of the function add two numbers. Whatever this function is returning, we want to store it inside our result. Whatever the function is returning, we want to assign it inside our result. Now, console.log result should give us what? Should give us, let's see, that should give us 110. 110. So let me go to my core car so we don't have to keep going up and down. Okay, so this way, currently we have 110 because remember our sum inside this place is 50 and 60. If I choose to change this to 160, then the console log will change because this will always return the sum. For every time the sum changes, the return statement also change, and then it now reassign the new value of add two number, which is now 210 to the result, and then we console it, and then we get the new value of result. So I can do that. I can use my add two number function any place now. If I need the addition of 50 and 160, I can use it anywhere within my code, even if I have multiple or millions of lines of code. As far as I can remember, add two numbers. Anywhere, I can always call it. I can always call it like add two numbers like this, and then I will get the sum of 50 and 110. But how can you make it reusable? Because in some cases, I don't want to add 50 and 160. I may want to add other numbers. I may want to add 10 and 1 or add 1 and 2. How can I make my function reusable? That's where the question comes in. So in that case, they call function reusable function so that you don't have to like repeat yourself. You don't want to say, okay, I want to add 50 and 50. You create one function to add 50 and 50. You want to add another 10 and 10. You create another function to add 10 and 10. You want to add 150. So you don't have to do that every time. All you have to do is just make your function reusable so that you only need to pass whatever you want to add inside an argument, right? Pass it as an argument, and then you get the sum of the numbers. So how do we do that? We are going to use parameters. In JavaScript or in functions, we have this parentheses take lot of parameters. It takes several parameters. So we can say num1, num2, num3. You can add many parameters as much as you want. But for now, we are only interested in adding two numbers. We are only interested in adding two numbers. So we are calling two parameters. We are assigning two parameters, parameter 1 and parameter 2. So these are what parameters. As you can see here, we have parameter line 6. This over now, you see we have parameter. So we have num1 as parameter 1 and then num2 as parameter 2. Why do we need parameter? The parameter is going to be used to get user input. Why? Parameter is going to be used to get user input so that we can now add it to our add two numbers. Use it as an argument inside our. Okay, let's continue like this first so that we don't get confused. So we have num1. Remember, initially this is 160. We are adding 50 and 160. But in this case, we want to add num1 and num2. That will mean whatever is being passed as num1, we want to add it to whatever is being passed as num2. So we do that by saying num1 and then num2. Me, I am just a developer. I don't want to know what the client or the user is passing. All I need to do is to ensure that my function is adding two numbers. All I need to do is to ensure that my function is adding two numbers. And then which two number is the function adding? It's adding num1 and then num2. Okay, so because we are now adding parameter, because we are using parameter as our function, we need an argument inside our when we are calling our function, we need an argument. An argument is what you use, what you pass to your function that has a parameter. These are called parameter. These ones are called parameter. So remember, this is parameter 1, this is parameter 2. This is a function. So the fact that this parenthesis has two parameters inside of it, definitely this parenthesis also should have what? Two arguments inside of it. It should also have two arguments so that your computer can now know or your Java student can know what and what am I adding exactly. For now, what the function is adding is num1 and num2 because here is empty. So as soon as I add two numbers to this thing, I'm going to get a better result. So let's say, okay, user want to add 40, comma. So that 40 represents what? The num1. That 40 represents num1. So I want to add 20. So I get this 20 represents what? Num2. So now this num1 now will now be 40 in this case, and this will be 40. Num2 will be 20, and then this will be 20. So the sum will now be what? 60. That means this our function will be returning 60. In that case, if I want to add multiple, or let's say result 1, I'm not just adding 40 and 20. I want to add other things, right? I can now say, let this be 25, and then let this be 76. So if I should console the log results 2, function reusable, so that anytime I need to add two numbers, anytime at all that I need to add two numbers, all I have to do is to call the function, just do it this way. Just try as much as possible to remember the function. Just say, let's say, okay, my number will now be equals to add two number. Call it anyway with your parentheses. And remember, it always it will definitely take two parameters. Even VS Code is helping you out. It's telling you that we have num1 and num2. That means you have to pass num1 and num2. And what is num1 that you want to add? The first number is 76. And then the second number that you want to add is 12.6. So when you now console.log console.log my num, you get the result. You get the sum of, remember, our function is returning the sum, okay? So when you console.log my num, we are getting console.log the sum of 76 and 12.6. Any question? Any question, please? Are we together? Is everything clear for us? I'm trying as much as possible to make this thing really, really simple and clear. Okay, so that is that. The function is used to add two numbers. I can decide that I want to add three numbers. This is my function. I want you to add three numbers. If you want to add three numbers, all you have to do is to add another parameter here, num3, so that users or clients or whoever is working on your code can add another parameter. Okay, you want to add more numbers. Okay, you add 50 here, and then this will now be, okay, let's say divide. So after adding this thing, add this 2 and then divide it by what? Num3. Add this 2 and divide it by num3, and then we'll say console.log result will give us 1.2. So in this case, anytime you need to run this function, then all you have to do is to add two numbers. Call your function, add two numbers, and then add your argument to it, 40, 20, and whichever number you want to add. So that's just basically it. If you have any question, please feel free to raise your hand, and then we can talk about that. So let's assume that we have a function to pick get last student in class. This is a function, right? We want this function to get last student in class. Okay, or we want this function to get the index of a particular student. Okay, get last student in class, just like this. So we say let last student be equals to, how do we get last student in class? So the first thing we need to do is to assume that this function is going to take one parameter. This function is going to take one parameter. And what parameter is the function taking? It's taking the array of students, because we cannot assign array. We want it to be a reusable function. So we are assuming that this function is going to take an array of students as a parameter. So we just assume, let's say array, or let's say, yeah, array of students. Okay, so we now say array of students, like this, std array of students dot length dot length minus 1. All right, so we can now say return last student. So this is the function. This function is actually created to give us to always return the last student in a given class. Okay, now because we are getting the last student in the given class, meaning that definitely it's going to be an array. Class will have more than one, at least 2 or 3 persons in the class. So 2 or 3 persons are going to be stored in an array. So our function is going to be taking an array, which we represent as array of students. We don't know it yet. We don't know what the user is going to put. Maybe it's 100 students, maybe it's 200 students, maybe it's 400. Okay, so we just assume that this is going to be the parameter. And remember, it doesn't have to be array of students every time. We already know how to do this. So this is returning what is giving us the last student in the array, and then we are returning the last student. So I want to use that function. I'll say let's result be equals to get last student in class. Okay, so remember, I can't leave this thing empty. That's what this one is saying. Cannot read property of undefined dot length. So I have to pass something as an argument to this in place of array of students. Array of students is my parameter. So I need an argument to replace this one so that I can use it properly. So I'll just create an array. I can either create an array somewhere. I can say const array equals to, you can say student array, std array equals to, let me say John, then the second one std, the third one jtk, the fourth one jyt. I don't really have much time. The fifth one. So now this is my array. This is the list of array. Okay, so I want to pass this array now inside this place to get the last student inside that array. So I'll just pass std array, and then I will get console.log. This result now will give me the last item. Console.log results std will give me the as this. So this is what happened here. We created a function, get last student in class. Then we pass the parameter array of students. Okay, so it is assumed that this function should take an array. Okay, an array of students, definitely, because we want this to work on an array. So it's definitely going to take an array of students. Okay, so now inside our function, we are saying that let last student be equals to array of students, because we need to get the last students, right? So, and it is assumed that this parameter is our array. That is assumption. So array of std, now into brackets, array of std.length minus 1. That's to get the last student in the array. So what are we returning? We want to return the last student. Okay, so now we want to call our function. After calling it, pass the array that you want your function to work on. This could be anything. We can have, let me say I have another array here. I can say array 2. Okay, and then this will now be John 2, std2, gh2, u2, and then d2. This is a different array. After calling the first array, I've been able to work on this one fine, and I get d as the last student in std array. Okay, so I can say I want to work on another array, which is std array 2. Let's result 2 be now equals to, remember, it is still your function, get last student in class. All you have to do is to pass the new array that you want the function to work on, which is what? std array 2. Okay, and then we now say console.log so that we can see the result 2 will give us the last student inside the array, which is the2. Any question? Are we good? It's clear, sir. Okay, 2 hands. All right. I really want to take questions because I know most of us are lost. Just please your question.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
I understand, but I just want to ask just one something that has been disturbing me. This this array of student dot length -1 in the function of get last students in class.
Yes.
If we put -2 there,
Yes.
will it give us the third yes, the third second to the last item?
Yes, definitely. This array of student.length is just a way of getting a number. Remember, I told you we access each item in an array using their index. So if you say array.length only, that will give you the length of the item, right? And then you say -1. If the length of the item is 5, you get -1, which is 4. If the length of the item is 5 and you say -2, you get what? 3. That means this is going to be what? 3. So assume 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So assume, no, this is 5, right? -2 will give us 3. So let's cut this and put 3. We're going to get the same thing. So that is just representing a number. This thing is just representing a number. And that number is what JavaScript will look for inside the index of each of these. That number is what JS will look for inside the index. Remember. So if I should use 3, I will get the index. Remember, if this is if this is 5, -3 will give us what? 2. So this will now be 2. So JavaScript will now look for the item that is index of 2 and then return it. You get so for everything will work 4 and 5 and all of that. So but what mostly give us concern and issue is the last one in the array. All right, Jasmine, please.
Sorry, good morning.
Good morning.
What's the function of that return? Sorry, I sound like this. The function of the return.
Okay, when you have a lot of things written in your function, right, there is no way for the function to know what to return. I can say I have class, I have let my name be equals to, let me now say array std. I want to get John. Let's say this is 0 plus array std. I want to get 0 and then the 2. So this is another thing. So now I can say let's multiply be equals to 5 times 4. This is another thing. So I have three different function or 3 different definitions here, right? So but what the return does is, which one exactly are you returning? What exactly do you want the function to return? You can define millions of code inside your function, but then the return statement is what the function will know that, okay, whatever you pass to it, it is what the function will return. So that when you are writing, when you are doing console.log my function, then whatever it is returned inside your function is what you see inside your console. For example, currently I have last student, I have my name, and I have multiply. So, but then I'm not interested in returning any of these two. No, the only thing I want to return is the last student, which means when user try to use my get last student in class, the only thing they will get is the result or the value of my last student. Currently, the value of my last student is what? Is THA. So, and I'm returning last student. So if I should do console.log whatever this thing, I will get the result. So return is just basically to tell the function that, okay, return this particular thing when user, if I don't put the return, there's nothing the function is going to return like this, because the function does not know anything. Without the return, it's getting undefined because, okay, I don't know what I'm returning. You just have functions inside me, you have definitions inside me, but you are not returning anything. So I don't really know what I'm returning. So if I should return multiply now, if I should return multiply, I will get 2020 because this is what I tell the function to return. So if I should return my name, I get John TH because this is what I tell the function to return. But in this case, what we want to return is last student. So at the same time, even if I have all of this like this and I did not return anything, I will still get undefined because you have to return something in your function. As far as your function is not an on-click function, right? It is not, an unclick function does not require you to return stuff. Okay, since you're going to like probably add something or increase something inside of it, so you don't really need to return anything. Although in some cases you may be required to return something when, but then the fact that you are adding and subtracting, and then from what we did last week and this morning, you can remember that we just added and then we used .html to reflect it inside the UI. So in that case, we may not need to add any return. But whatever that does not require an onClick function, any function that does not require an onClick should have a return statement, so that the return is going to tell the function that, okay, this is what I want you to return. If you don't run finish, you've done everything you need to do and all of that inside you, try as much as possible to return this particular thing. And you can't return, and you can't return an undefined. See, let me tell you, if I return this now, if I return a string, I will get a string. This string. So I will get a string. This is it. I'm returning a string, so I'm getting a string. If I return this string plus this, I will get this. So you can use return to even add two things. If you don't want to like stress yourself, you can say, I don't want this. I just want to return whatever it is that I get from this, and same return this. This will give you the same thing. Return the last index, return the last item of the array. So this will also work the same way. But most of the time, I like to assign it first. I like to assign it first so that I can know what I'm working with. Last index equals to, and then I'll now return last index. So is that clear, Jasmine?
Yeah, it's clear. My second question is in the array, when you were saying something about the array, you said we can have like multiple values inside the array. So I think you give an example of a number, then two names in an sub-array or an index array as you said. So I'm trying to see if you want to console the log one of the items inside the index array, how do you do that?
Okay, you're
Like for
saying,
instance,
okay,
index array and Shola, and you're trying to like get just John without the Shola that is inside the index array that has different values again.
Okay, let me try something. We have const array equals to, let's say we have Jasmine. Okay, we have Bola. Okay. So inside nested array like this, is that what you're saying? We have goldenrod, and then we have gospel. So if I should get you right, Jasmine, we want to get goldenrod, not gospel, right? We are looking for a way to access goldenrod. Okay. So let's assume we want to write a function for that. Let's just say remove all of this. No, I'm not sure we can. Let's just get it directly, sure. Okay, so we have the first thing you need to do is to get this one. Try to get this array first. After you get this array, remember it is a nested array. So the first thing you need to get, let's get nested be equals to array. So I need to get this last one because that array is on the last something. So I can say 0, 1, 2, array 2. This will give me this one first. It's going to give me everything. So console.log get nested, right? So I will get goldenrod and gospel. But like you said, you are not interested in gospel. You're only interested in goldenrod. So for me to do that, I just have to do 0 and 1 again because it is also an array. Okay. And then I already know that every array has an index starting from 0 and 1. So since this one is just 2, I just say 0 and 1. So add another bracket notation to what you have initially and then make it 0. So this will give us goldenrod. The first one is to get the array itself, the parent array. And then the second one is to get the array, an item inside the parent array. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. So you can even do that multiple of time. I think I gave an example. You can have a couple of it. You can, even if you have another one, yeah, you have another array, yeah. Then let's say 1 and 2, and then you want to get inside of this. All you have to do, get this one first, which is 2. We've been able to get this as 2. And then we want to get this last one. So that last one is also 2. So what do we need from the last one is 1. We don't need 2. So we just say 0, and then we get our 1. So that's just how the whole thing works. So are we good? Is everyone okay?
Yes,
All right.
sir.
I think we are okay. I think we are okay. Okay, George, your question. George, your question.
Boss, line 21, function get last student in class. The
Okay.
parameter ARR, that's array of students, I don't understand that. Why is that? It's not defined anywhere, that ARR of students, because we are using stdarr, that's student array. What's that parameter for? I don't get it. I don't get how I don't even get it at all.
Okay.
That's just what I'm confused about. I understand how you got how the
Yeah.
array was
Yeah.
gotten, but I don't understand how that parameter resulted in getting the particular string or particular words we had. Like, I
Yeah.
don't get that.
Understand. Yes, this is how parameter works. We don't know parameter. That is what parameter. That's why they call it parameter. We don't know what is there. We don't know what is there. But for you yourself, you have to understand that, okay, what did I want my function to do? Okay, this is my function. I want my function to be able to get the last student of an array. I want my function to take an array. This function will take an array and then get the last item of that array. Just listen to me. I said, okay, I want to create a function that will take an array. What is an array? Array is a collection of different variables, multiple variables, right? So I want to create a function that will take an array and then return the last item of that array. Do you understand that statement? Let me ask that
Yes.
first. Do you understand that?
I do, yes.
Fine. Now, after defining that yourself from your mind, that, okay, I'm creating a function that will take an array, meaning that, okay, taking an array or taking something means adding it as a parameter. When they say, okay, you can just go online and then you search for something and they say, I want you to create a function that will take a string. So first thing you need to do is function, let's say my func, just as an example, right? And then they say this function should take a string. The first thing you need to do is to just put str here. So this function is what? It's taking a string. This thing could be anything. This thing could be anything. It could be, I just represent it as str. So parameter can be anything. You can represent parameter with anything. But why do we need parameter? Is because we want our function to be able to take something. And how does function take something? So now we've declared this function as my function, and then it is expected to take what? A string, str. So, okay, I want to take something. I will say my function, and then what am I taking? I'm taking gospel, or I'm taking George. Is this correct? No. Okay. Okay, now this is it. Now I'm creating a function to take a string and then return, let's say return okay, let me just return, what am I returning? Return the string, or let's say return a greeting. Return a greeting. For example, let's do it this way. My function is to take the name of a user and then return good morning to that user. So let's say function greet user, right? And then this is it. So the first thing you need to understand that, okay, I want to create a function that will take username, right? I need to create a function that will take username so that when the function collects the username, I will now return a greeting plus the username. What am I returning? I want to return a string that will say good morning. Remember, we have to use we cannot use, okay, let's just use the string. Good morning plus username. So by default, we could say good morning gospel, but we want this function to be able to take different name. That's why we say this our function should collect user input. And then what is the user input that we want to collect? Just add it here. We don't know the user input yet. So we just add it here that, okay, we want to collect a user input. So whatever the user input is, that's what we want to add to our good morning user input. Just like this. So they call this a parameter because we don't know it. That's why you see something like any. It could be anything. User input is assigned to anything, like it could be anything. Okay. So I will go back to the array of std. I'm just trying to explain parameter. So when you go outside and maybe you have been given an interview, they say, okay, I want you to create a function that will take two parameters. I want you to create a function that will take two parameters. One is an array, the other one is a string. All you have to do is function take param. For example, I'm just using this as names. So take param. These names could be anything. Take param, and then two parameter. You say param1, and then param2. Okay, so that's the thing. These are parameter. We don't know what the parameter will be for now until we know what the function we want to do. So in this our own case, we say create a function that will collect user input, which is user input, and then greet the user after collecting their input. So now we've created the function greet user, and then we say user input is going to be whatever they put inside our function. Okay, so we are now returning good morning plus whatever the user puts as their argument. So now when you need to use your greet user, now you say let result be equals to your function, call your function, use the parentheses, and then what are we passing? We need to pass something as user input. We need to pass something as user input. So because you cannot leave it like this, you will not get a result. If I should say console.log results greet, you get undefined here because we don't have any user input yet as this one. So we need to pass something as an argument. So what are you passing to replace your user input is your name. So we say gospel. Then you can now say good morning gospel. So this here is an argument. This could be anything. You could say let user input be equals to George. And then here you can now pass the user input. Okay, so it's still the same thing. Everything is just working the same way. Some people they don't like to assign everything inside a variable. While some will always want to assign stuff inside a variable. So in this case, we assign our argument in a variable before passing it. But if you don't want to do that, it's already fine. So we can say user input and then make it a string, and then you can say good morning user input. So this is an argument that is being used to replace our parameter here. So now in this our own case, we are saying we want to create a function that will collect an array and then return the last item of that array. So here now we have array of std. We don't know what array of std is for now. It is just a normal parameter. It's just a normal parameter. But then we are assuming ourselves that our parameter is going to be what? An array. So then we now say let last index be equals to this thing that we assume that is an array. Okay, since we already assume it is an array, then we want to return the last index of that array. And then this is the formula to return the last index of an array. Okay, so we pass it like this, and then we return the last index. So now for you to use this function, you have to use this, you have to pass an array as an argument to it. So you can say results is equals to get last index, last student in class. Open your function, your parentheses. Remember,
you have a parameter, so you need something here. You need an array. The only thing you can pass it that will make your function run properly is what? Is an array. Because what you've worked on here is what? An array. You have worked inside your function as if the user is going to put an array. Do you get? As if the user is going to put an array. So let's do that. We created an array here called student array. So we now pass it std array2. So if you now console.log now, console.log result array will give you the last item of the array. In this case, if you pass a string, it will not work. Okay, this is giving us the last item of our string. This is giving us the last item of our string. If you pass, that's because you can get the last item of a string also. If you pass number, okay, so number, you cannot get the length of the number. That's why it's returning on the fine. Okay, so we can get the dot. So this is going to give us dot length. When you calculate the dot length, then you return the last item of Monday, which is y. So that's just how the whole thing. Now this is an argument, while this is a parameter. Do you understand at all? So anything that can be used as dot length, our array, std array, we get d because it's an array. We get the next thing. Sorry, so I don't know if you get the whole idea, George. You understand? This is
yeah, but what do you call
the parameter,
argument?
and you are the one to decide what your parameter is going to be and whatever is going to be inside your function. George, is that clear to you?
Okay. Yeah, it's
remember, we have our parameter here. So now this argument, anything that you are using in place of your parameter is called your argument. So that is it. So if this is expecting number, like what we did initially to add two number, in this case, this is parameter 1, parameter 2, parameter 3. They are all expecting to be a number, like number. Okay, so if I should pass a string here, there's every possibility to get an error. Okay, I'm getting infinitive, not a number. That's what I'm getting, because this you cannot divide this by a letter, by a string. It's not going to work. So it's getting none to get a number. Let's say 7. They will get the value. So this is argument, all this, and then this is parameter. Abire, let's take the last question. Next week, we're going to, Monday, we'll move straight into the core of JavaScript, and then we'll work with APIs and all of that. Okay.
Okay, could you please move up? Okay. List your let get nested, the array. The array has a value of 2 inside. Is it because you're looking at the nested parameter here?
You mean this 2 and 2, right?
The first 2.
Okay, yes, exactly. It's because we are trying to access an item inside this last array.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why we use the 2. You understand, all right?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, today's class is a little bit somehow because of the network. So next week, okay, let me read that. Let me read the chat. Quokka. It's all packaged in the install to get a lot of Quokka. Save the email and install it. Okay. All right.